So my question to him is, if I ever see him, how do he whoop his kids? Because if they got the same power as him.
I've been through a lot. And only one thing ever really sticks to me. No matter what I go through, it always affects me. When I hustle up or don't have a dime, I'ma go mine. Good times and the bad times, they heavy on my mind. Tapered up or I'm starched down. Either way is mine. I feel fine, but everything around affect my vivid mind.
Welcome to a Vivid Mind podcast. This is Sid, aka the king of all things dope. Today, I got my family with me. Simply because this week is a little difficult for me. I had this podcast planned on who I want to talk to and why. But what I did not anticipate was the loss of somebody really, really important to me. So it's befitting that I'm with them simply because you never know when or what things are gonna take place and what you need in that moment. And in that moment you need a village, you know. So what I did was I convinced my village to finally get on this thing and talk so y'all can understand my mentality, why I accomplish things the way that I do and make the decisions the way that I do. And it's because of all these very different personalities who all subscribe to the same principles, which is family, God and faith, and the true definition of love. You know, and when you put those things together, you get this group of crazy people. Apparently, I didn't anticipate that, but you know, it's the way God actually works. You know, so hey, I'd like to welcome you guys to the family podcast. You know, up first we got the Moffetts. Y'all say hey in the microphone over there.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
All right, and then you know we have who I like to call aunt and uncle, but they really like godparents, so it's a weird dynamic. Don't ask. The Houses.
Hello.
Good morning.
And then we got my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Allison.
Hello.
Howdy.
And that howdy came from my mama.
Trying to be all proper.
And last but not least, you got me. And I actually convinced my other half to get on here. As loud as she is, she don't want to talk on the microphone. So, we in for a good time, y'all. All right, so what I like to do is always, like my people know on these podcasts, I like to play a game.
Oh.
Yes. What I hold in my hand is a game I like to call Dumb Questions for Smart People. Why are you allowed to see this? Because you don't know which of these questions I'm going to ask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each specific, look at me trying to not be country, specific, you know, country ghetto folks say Pacific, but that's an ocean.
In the ocean.
that ain't being selective. But I'm gonna ask each married couple a specific question, and I want both of you to elaborate on the topic. Okay? All right. So we're going to start the same way that we introduce everybody. We're going to start with the Moffetts.
Luck of the draw.
And I want each one of you to answer this question. Okay? What's the last thing you watched on TV, and why did you choose to watch it?
Okay, well, I'll go first because
What you watched alone now?
Alone. Okay.
Alone.
Superman and Lois. And the reason why I watched that because nobody has ever seen the same Superman over 40 years. And this new Superman, he's kind of got a family. And just like us with our nappy-head kids and undisrespectful and, hey, anyway, he got the same thing. But the only problem is his kids got superpower right along with him. So my question to him is, if I ever see him, how do he whoop his kids? Because if they got the same power as him. And that's why I'm still watching the show, because I want to see him go smack his kids upside the head and see what happens. That's mine.
Now, when you heard this slight pause, Uncle John take a look at Uncle Bobby. Now, Uncle Bobby is his son. All right, he uncle of all these different kids. So he talking about Superman whooping their kids. That's a good question for him. So now we will speak with Mrs. Moffett and Chariett. What was the last thing you watched alone, and why?
Well, I usually don't watch TV alone. I'm not a big TV person these days, so usually when I watch TV it's with Mr. Moffett. So,
okay, so what was the last activity that would equate to entertainment that you did alone, and why?
That would have been some home improvement shows, because I absolutely love watching stuff like that. Usually with me watching stuff like that, I'm always trying to improve something different, change something around in the house. It's just something that's my passion, and I hope to be able to venture into in life.
Well, that would explain why your house looks so nice, because you watch a lot of that stuff, and it gives you inspiration.
And the fact she give me something to do.
All the time.
Well, you got to put the money to work. Might as well look at it. All right. Next question will be for my aunt and uncle godparents. Describe yourself in one word.
Blessed.
Why blessed? Elaborate.
Well, God gave me a lot of things in life and that I thought I would never see. And gave me a beautiful family that I always gonna be there for them and love them. That's the reason why I say I'm blessed, and I thank God for everything He do for me.
Okay, then. Well, he mentioned a beautiful family. What you heard, the little bit of voice, is a piece of that family. And he will not detach himself from them. So you got to hear him today. I apologize. I know I sound like Steve Harvey on Kingdom Come, where he was calling the people to come down there and try it for Beulah Baptist Choir. He was holding a cigarette in his hand. They are to the point where they will take anyone. Come try it for the choir. All right, let me quit playing. All right, Auntie, what's your one word?
Loving.
Loving.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, that's the way God bless me with a kind heart, loving heart. I don't mind helping people.
That's it. Okay. Well, that is sufficient. That's true. I will accept that.
It is true.
All right, so now I'm going to ask my parents this question. During this, trust me, you may not hear my voice, but my mom is enough. So I'm going to slide them the microphone after I ask my question. Oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to let y'all answer this together. What advice would you give your previous boss if you could?
Mercy. You've been on your job 97 years. You know your first boss.
Yeah, mama. Because he ain't had nobody no other job before that.
What would you give?
So you going to go first, Bob?
This is a hard one. This is a difficult one. My previous boss.
It's some advice, just good advice you would give him.
Just good advice. Well, my previous boss, I would just tell him to be careful who he hired, because he hired this last dude that we had, and he was just a moron. So I mean, he was a very difficult person to deal with, and I would just say, hey, for future references, be careful who you hire.
All right. Mom?
A previous boss.
Any previous. Any one of them.
I have one. Don't close doors on people because you want them to stay in that position.
Okay.
Sometimes we can be selfish because we like that person and how they do that job. Not particularly like the person, but like how they do that job, because they're so efficient till we can close the door on the person from moving and elevating, because we want them to stay right there and do that particular job instead of allowing them to grow. And you should never do anyone like that.
Okay. And what happens whenever you confine somebody within a box?
Well, a lot of times if they get tired of their cage, they break out. So what you're looking to happen, it does not happen. They move on.
And in the process, you lose a good employee.
Yes, you can stunt someone's growth. You can mess with their mentality. You can do a whole lot of things that affect that person for their life. Being selfish.
Well, that's the current state of America and the world, It's full of what I would like to call selfish people, and whenever I think about that, right, I think about the scripture. It say, treat others the way you want to be treated, But what it boils down to really is, do you know how to treat yourself? Like, is that a trait we born with, where we know how to take care of ourselves? We actually have a standard of righteousness or goodness to compare to when it comes to treating other people. Like, are we born with that, or is that developed through parents? Is that even available to people going through struggle, which is mostly our people, right? Like, is that available to us? Or is that something is that something rich folks get? Something, you get what I'm saying? Like, is that a wealth of life that we have to obtain? Are you born with the ability to fulfill that commandment?
I think it's both.
Why do you think it's both?
Because I was not born wealthy.
Okay.
I was born poor, but blessed. I had a good foundation with certain principles, but it's certain things that I saw that I decided I didn't want to do.
Okay.
Concerning family, maybe friends, I saw both sides of the coin. I was blessed to be around people that did have substance, and certain characteristics they had I didn't want.
Okay.
And as well, I was around people who didn't have substance, and they had certain characteristics that I didn't want.
Yes.
So I decided to kind of eliminate what I did and didn't want to do with my life, as far as treating people, how I wanted to teach my children, just different things like that. Not saying that I'm perfect, but hey, I think it worked out pretty good. Still had some ups and downs, still made some bad choices, but that's just part of growth.
Yeah.
Because some things I didn't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't trained. So it was a process of elimination of error, trial and error. But I wasn't scared to try.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's another thing. You can't be afraid to try. Even if you mess up. That's life.
Yeah.
Life happens. Life happens to you even if you don't try. So why not try?
Yeah.
What's interesting? We use the phrase life happens. When you said the phrase life happens, it made me think about the other phrase that we use over this word. And then that really bounced back. Why would I say that? It bounced back to the thought of what is life, right? Life is the equivalent of what God gives us, right? You get what I'm saying? So those happenstances, are they of God, or are they the tribulations of the first sin? You get what I'm saying? So in that case, is it really life happens or is it that sin happens? And we deal with the ripple effects.
Well, to me, sin is a part of life.
Yeah.
We were born in
Still
sin.
life. Yeah.
We was born in that we have the godly nature and the sinful nature
Yeah.
because we're born in this flesh. So it's a battle all the time.
Yeah.
Now, at different levels, you have different battles because we're gonna always have that battle. It's just at a different level. You have that pre-K level, then you move up just like you do in grade. It's same in the spirit.
Every level is different. Every level is different. Okay, because the scripture even tells us that in this life, you're going to have trials and tribulations.
Okay.
But your tests and trials only come to make you a stronger person or a better person.
Yeah.
It's up to the individual what you do with it.
If you learn from it or
That's
not.
true.
Yeah.
Some of us like different situations, so either we use that as an excuse not to try. Because this happened and that happened. Not saying trauma don't come. I have been traumatized by a whole lot of things that happened in my life. But I didn't allow that trauma to stop me from trying to move forward in different areas.
Yeah.
Some have delayed some things because I had to get a grip, had to allow God to help me and pray through because some things I just didn't understand. I was stuck at why.
Yeah. But in life, we're going to have stumbling blocks. We're going to have obstacles. Now, how you navigate those stumbling blocks and obstacles, once again, that's an individual process. You know, the way I might handle this situation one way, somebody might have said, well, I wouldn't have did it like that. But at that time, that's what I knew.
Yeah.
So that's what I went for.
Okay.
And the biggest thing that we still ain't acknowledge is the fact that life is a choice.
Yeah.
How do you decide to handle life, whether it be bad or good? Because true enough, everybody is not born the same way. Everybody is not raised the exact same way. But at the same time, with you having the wealthy grew up the way they grew up, they make bad decisions. You had the poor growing up the way they grew, they make bad decisions. Even the middle class grew up the way they grew, they make bad decisions. It's the decision choices that we make in order to find out what we're going to do the next step. God had already said that, he laid before you life and death. He asks us to choose life. He gives us the free will to do it. So whether you are a person born under the track, above the track, or, in between the tracks, you had a decision to whether or not, okay, I choose to live good. I choose to do what's right. Now, if there's trial and tribulation coming with me doing right, then Lord, help me to go through this trial and tribulation. But at the same time, like the person that's choosing to do bad or not making a choice at all, they are willing and open to receive all the consequences that go with that. And with that, then, hey, you just set yourself up for it. But everything in life is a God-giving choice, because we're born in His image.
Okay, so Aunt Chariett, how do you feel about that, to balance out what your husband say?
Well, let me say this. One of my biggest things is, as an adult, a lot of times adult will say, oh, the devil made me do this, or oh, I don't know any better. That, to me, that's a big cop-out. That's a big lie. By the time you become adult age, you know right from wrong. You know that as a child. So you can't keep saying, well, I don't know why I do the things I do. It's because, again, it's your choice. You decide to do wrong. You choose to do right. So why people, or at least adults, continue to do that bothers me so. I mean, and my biggest experience with that is, I think the closer that I get to the Lord, He begins to open up my eyes, be able to see things that people do. And some of it is pretty scary. Mm-hmm. And, just on my job, just thinking about how people respond or react to different things. You don't have to have anybody take you into an atmosphere that's going to cause you to act a fool. You choose to do that. Now, have I done that? Oh, yeah. I've done it.
So my question would be, and I can send this one over to my, my bad, I had to get the mic. My question would be, and I can send this over to my godparents. So with what she just said, right, with people making excuses and blaming it on the devil, is it, we got a brief interruption by by the Pampers collection. I'm gonna take a slight break and then we're gonna come back to that question. What's up, family? This your boy Sid, aka King Dope, the king of all things dope. I'm here to let you know this shirt you see I got on. This is called the Live Humble SS30. Check this out. This is the shirt that is gonna put us on the map. So what I need you to do is I need you to go to www.youngandcultured.app. I repeat, www.youngandculture.app and get you one today, man. Because if you ain't got it, you left out. And one thing you don't want to be is left out. Because trust me, everybody's about to have this shirt. Cool. All right, so we are going back to the topic. You know, if we are human and we make a mistake, is it truly us that made the mistake, or were we tricked by the devil? I'm gonna have my godparents answer this one. What do you think, what you think, Uncle Horace?
Well, they used to say it's the devil's fault, but it ain't the devil's fault. It's the human fault, because you were raised, everybody raised different, like brothers and them say. I mean, even my dad and them, they raised us the best way they can. Some of them could read, some of them couldn't. But they didn't go to church. But my son and dad pray a lot. Even he did a lot of things I saw did. But he never did say, the devil made me do it. It was his own will that he did it, you know, even my mom. Because they did what they thought they were best for them. But the thing they say, you do what I say, do not what I think. You know? Yeah, that is what they say. That's their favorite word.
Yeah, do what I say and not what you see.
Yeah, and you know, and how can you do? I mean, you try your best not to do what they do, but you see everything they do. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna follow their footstep, and then you know, it ain't the devil; it's just human nature. I mean, human nature.
It's just human nature.
Yeah. And then like a hurricane.
I would just want to elaborate on what Brother Law said. God give all of us a free will. And when it's already in us to sin, because like you said, the Bible will say we was conceived in sin and we were born in sin. And God gave us all free will, and your will is something God Himself don't even touch. Okay, so at the age of 12, everybody, that's the age of accountability. So by the age of 12, you pretty much know if I touch that stove gonna be hot. It's gonna burn me, right? So once again, God doesn't. You get ready to do something, and God don't intervene because He gave you a will, and He don't touch that.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with the cause and effect of that, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will say this, that the devil does entice, but he entice was already in you.
Because it's a scripture.
Somewhere.
It's a scripture. I'm sorry, love.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry. It's a scripture in the Bible that says that you are drawn away by your own lust and enticed.
That's right.
So when that means that it's already in you. Sin is already in you.
Yes.
So that begs the question, right?
Go ahead, Ralph.
That begs the question. When Eve was beguiled of the devil in the garden, right? He chose, and this is just from some in-depth studying I've been doing. He chose the serpent because the serpent was the highest amongst the beasts. He stood the tallest. And it was not unfamiliar for the serpent to speak to Adam and Eve. You get what I'm saying? So to us that looks foreign. What? This thing was talking?
Back then.
You know, and it was standing up.
Back then.
You get what I'm saying? But this was normal. This is normal for her. You know, so you mean to tell me, based on what you're saying, that it was already in her. The moment when she was beguiled, the moment she was taught to look at what she did not have, because that's really what it was. She already wanted to do that.
Because that curiosity was already there.
This was my thought about it too. We know the enemy studies us.
Oh yeah.
My thought is, that wasn't the first time she went and looked at that tree. That wasn't the first time she done said something about that tree. And if, think about it, if the serpent, they was used to conversating, that wasn't the first time.
That conversation came.
Let's discuss something that we do all the time, love. I'm gonna admit, I have a whole lot of shoes and clothes. Okay? Purses and different things that girls like. But if we go to a store and I'll say, "Oh, I really like that," and I'm like, "I sure don't need that." What you'll do?
I will tell my wife, you work hard, so let's play hard. Go ahead and get it.
Okay. So
buy what you want.
even though I don't need it,
Even though she don't need it,
and I saw
I
it,
tell my wife, you work hard,
yeah.
play
But
hard.
even though I don't need it, and I really, if I left it in the store, it wouldn't hurt me at all. But because I was already enticed, and what did you say? Go on, get it. So I'm back and forth. I'm rocking.
But see.
But see, but guess what? If I was strong enough, I would say no and walk away. That's something I wasn't strong enough to do. I go on, put it in that basket, or hold it and go on, swipe that card and say,
But see, that's just like,
you know.
that's like in the garden. Adam and Eve had everything
They
they could
ever have.
Look, the way it was described in the word, right, in regards to them having everything, God described it. He literally said, you can have all the fruit of all the beasts. You don't really have to work. The milk and the honey is here. The water is here.
Everything.
He said they even had gold, silver, and precious jewel. They don't. Who they gonna share it with? Like,
They didn't want for nothing.
like they don't even know the purpose of the gold. We use it for barter now, right? You get what I'm saying? Because it's of value. But in this situation, everything around is of value. And they're not sharing it with anybody.
But they was put in a place to make it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought.
Okay.
It wasn't that people wasn't there.
Okay.
He put them in the garden. He
Okay.
gave them
The God.
everything that they needed to survive and to make it, to expand and to grow.
Maintain.
Yes.
He gave it to them.
And also, not cut my wife off or anything. God gave Adam and Eve dominion
That's right.
over everything.
Everything.
He gave them dominion. So at any given time, everything in that garden had to obey Adam and Eve.
True.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask my other half, how does she feel in regards to the beguilement of Eve? And was it internal? Was it already an internal conflict, do you think? Or
I feel like today in life we have a lot of temptations. You know what I'm saying? And those things sometimes are presented to you. You don't know anything about it. So I don't agree with it already being in her. I feel like she was tempted with the temptation. And because she knew that the temptation was forbidden, it made the urge even more severe to where she felt like she just wanted to give in to it. And I also feel like she didn't want to do it alone. It's why she brought Adam along.
Hence,
with
misery
it.
loves company.
Exactly. It feels better when you're doing the wrong thing with multiple
Somebody
people
else.
because it makes you feel less guilty.
they call that the herd mentality. Whenever a herd or a flock or any group of living being all do something, it normalizes it and makes it feel okay.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So if you see a herd of cattle start running,
Stampede.
they start stampeding, others join into stampeding. Simply because, oh, that's what we doing? Oh, well then that's what we all supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So if we live in a culture, and I think that's what culture comes in, right?
I mean, even though they run stampede, but if they jump, if one gonna jump in the water, the other gonna jump in the water.
Yeah.
And they're gonna pay for it because something they're gonna get them.
Yeah.
An alligator.
Yeah,
It's a crocodile.
you're right.
And also, if I may add, that the scripture also says that we are all like sheep heading to the slaughter. Now, you know, sheep travels in flocks. They follow the leader. So if you lead one sheep to the left, all of them going to the left. You lead one to the right, they all going to the right. That's why back in that day, the shepherds had a staff. With, you know, the staff has a long part and a curvy part. The curvy part was to pull the sheep back when they got too far. The long part was to put them, lead them in whatever direction you want them to go in.
Okay.
So back in that day, if the shepherd would have led them over, as my brother said, a cliff, all the sheep would have went over a cliff.
Yeah.
The blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
But hence, going back to Eve, she had the great shepherd, and he told her what not to do.
But as humans, it's that one little part in us. Yeah, he said you could do da 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 da, but did he really mean you couldn't do this? Or did he really mean you couldn't do that?
I feel like the tree was there for temptation, to see if God had made something perfect other than him. That's why they were set apart, to not be influenced. But he had to see. Because he knew he had made them so perfect. The tree was the only thing that would make them imperfect. And if it was not for the enticement of the serpent, I don't feel like they would have eaten that tree, because they didn't want it. They didn't want it until they found out that, oh, if you do this, you could be as strong and as powerful as God, who says not to eat it.
Okay, now, God also, once they sinned, what happened to Adam and Eve? They was put out of the garden. Ain't that what the word of God says? So in order for you to be able to put me out of something, I already have to be in something. That means that garden had to have an enclosure around it. Okay? So a fence, a wall, whatever the case may be. But in order for you to put me out of something, I have to first already be in it, be a part of it. So the serpent was already in the garden. Okay? So God allowed that. Now God is all seeing, all knowing. Don't think for 1 minute that God did not know that temptation was going to be there.
So, here's the question that people normally ask, right? They ask, well, why was the tree there, right? God's a perfect God. He's all knowing, all seeing. He has an understanding of our will, our being. The only thing he gives us is the will, but he kind of knows what's going to happen, right? Why is this tree even there, right? So the first thing I want to define for people, so if you ever had difficulty understanding scripture, what you literally want to do is take no word for granted in scripture. I don't care if you think you know what that word means. These words were written before your existence. And if you studied etymology, the study of words, then you know that words change meaning over time. So even the these and those and wherefore, and you think you know what that means, but you don't. You need to go look up the original intent of the phrase during the time of which the Bible was written, which is, do y'all remember the years 1692, 1640? Yeah. Somewhere around that time. So you need to look at what English words meant in that time. So what I'm going to define for you when I say that is the word perfect, okay? This word has a lot of meanings depending on the situation, but I'm going to go with the first one, which is where we get the Latin pronunciation perfect. Having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics. Side note of this is as good as it is possible to be. So when you put it in the mind frame of the true definition of the phrase perfect as described in that moment, it's not literally to the T exact. It is as good as possible. Do you understand? sometimes 80% is as good as it's gonna get. It ain't no 81%. So in the situation with the tree in the garden, right? God is a God of balance. Now I knew this before I started studying the teachings of, Myron Golden, but he kind of like exposed it deeper to me. Have you ever seen a one-sided piece of bread? Have you ever seen a one-sided coin? Have you ever seen anything that has up that doesn't have down? Have you ever seen anything that has a left that doesn't have a right?
Two sides to every story.
So with that being said, there is no way that there's nothing but all this good and bad don't exist. So, but what God did, being a great God, he condensed it all down to one spot.
The knowledge of good and evil, because it was all in that tree.
Exactly. So why would he name it knowledge of good and evil? First, let's look up the word good. Good. All right. To be desired or approved of, pleasing and welcome, or expressing approval. That's good. Meaning it was some pleasing stuff in there. It was some welcoming stuff. It was some stuff you desire. Some stuff you will approve of. Some stuff that when you feel it, you say, mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? That was of the tree, right? Now let's look up the phrase evil. Profoundly immoral and wicked. Harmful or tending to harm. Embodying or associated with the forces of the devil. Okay? So, he put everything bad about the garden in one spot and said, this tree have nothing to do with it. Right? Why was it not enough to know that it exists? How was it that we would so easily just ask the question, right? Now, if you read the word, the way that he asked the question is everything. He didn't exactly say it the way God said it.
What do we?
In that moment, the enemy, Satan, was a salesman. He said, you shall not truly die.
Twisting the word.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what he said to her. You shall not truly die. He don't want you to know what he know. So, if you're not truly going to die, then what's wrong with you deciding to make this decision? But we do that with everything.
Yeah.
Cause and effect.
There's a lot of things that I feel like we can really talk about it. We're allowed to do, but we often go past the limitations that God gave us. And then we get kicked out of the good moment. Right? So what is something that we're allowed to do? We're allowed to partake, but he put a limit on it, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you partake. He says, you can partake, but
Don't get drunk.
be sober.
Yeah, don't sober and vigilant.
That's what he said. Be sober and vigilant. Why did he tie those two things together?
Well, he said to be sober and to be vigilant because you got to be awake and quick. Because it tells you that the enemy is around you. So you got to be sober and you got to be quick. You got to be awake and you got to be paying attention and you got to be able to process. Because if you just say you become drunk on anything, not just wine, not just liquor, we talking about you could be drunk on a lot of things. You could be drunk on yourself.
True.
You could be drunk on a job. You could be drunk on your family. You could be drunk on a particular child, a spouse, a person, food. Anything can become something that could make you overly to where you're not sober.
Yeah.
You're not paying attention. Because you have drowned in that particular thing, and then guess what? You're gonna get swept off your feet with something because why? You can't process.
So what's the purpose of the enemy? Just to clarify. What is he? What is he in the moment? What do he want to do?
He does three things:
And what's that?
steal, kill, and destroy.
All right.
None of those are good.
Yep. That's very true.
He wants to take away, kill off or just annihilate. All that is none of that is good.
So what he is looking to do is he wants to steal the moment to kill your motivation, and that will destroy your drive.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
For a man without any drive will accomplish nothing. And what is the purpose in you being born yet to accomplish many things that God gave you visions for? Because the interesting thing about the visions, right? To be a visionary, if you think about anybody who is a visionary, right? We'll go with Steve Jobs. He had an idea that you would touch on the glass of a phone and it will do as you commanded. In the time frame where he came up with this idea, which was the late 80s, early 90s, was that something people doing?
Never heard of it.
Just like sci-fi.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, the closest thing you seen to that was like comic books and stuff.
Okay, so I have a brief question. So you say that there's two sides to every coin. There is good and there is evil. So if God is all good, then there had to be some evil, right? So with God knowing that he's all good, he must have known that there was going to be something that was going to be evil because it had to be balanced.
Right.
Right? So God is a God of all things positive, all things good, all things prosperous. The devil, it has to be somebody who's going to be the opposite. And my husband told me the other day, it didn't have to be him. He chose it. But regardless of who it was going to be, it was going to be somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I battle with the question of why are we condemned when there was going to be something that was going to try us that way, that was going to put us in situations where it was going to be hard to say no to those things.
Well, that's why he gave us a remedy. The remedy is there. But it's up for us to choose that remedy.
I get the remedy. I get the remedy. I get the way out.
Well, that's why he gave you 5 senses too.
I get all of that. I get all of that. But it's almost like we're in the middle of a war. You know what I'm saying?
We are.
That we didn't have a choice. But now we have to choose if we're going to be good or bad.
It's always been like that.
Yeah, it's almost like with two older siblings over you younger sibling out of 3. You know what your parents had already provided for you. You got one sibling that wants all of it and don't want to share with none. Then you got the next sibling that wants to share with everybody. There's always going to be a war because now we got this sibling. We see the example of this sibling because they want everything. But then we know that this sibling has a good heart because they want us to have what they got. We're going to generally go towards that sibling that is giving us what they have, what they're sharing with us. And we're going to shy away from the one that we know that only thing they want to do is hurt us. So in order for to have that other balance, I mean, almost like the coin. You got the heads to tails, but then you got the thin line in the middle, the center of truth. And that's what he's providing. He's providing that center of truth to let you know, look, hey, yeah, there's evil over there, there's good over there. The center line is I'm truth. If you find me, you'll know both already. And you already know which way that you want to go. And the battle that we in, true enough, it ain't something that we signed up for, but at the same time, me personally, I'm glad I'm in it. Because through my life struggle, I seen both sides. Well, I seen that one side. Then when I came into knowledge of Christ and gave my life to Christ and started walking after him, I see this other side. Now I have both sides in my remembrance. So now I can see somebody else struggling. Look, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I can share with you how good it is if you live this way.
Well, I tell you the truth. I saw both sides too. I even saw both sides. I wanted to kill myself. I saw the evil side, but then God let me see the good side. I tried to kill myself, but it wasn't for me. But because how God had other plans for me. How when I was with my first wife, that was the evil side. And I did really try to kill myself. And that's when I really started doing things I should not have. I ain't proud of it, but I did some stuff that I was.
Yeah.
But the good side was reality. My sense, after I got kind of moved away from that part of the side of the family, I started praying more. But when I started praying, I didn't want to go back out in the world like I was. But I prayed for God to send me somebody going to love him first, then love me. Not what I could do for her or whatever. And God did bless me with that. And then I started to realize how God really blessed me. Because I thought, I got to reading the Word. And I know that's why I always say I am for a big family. I do have a big family. Moses. I wanted to be like Moses. But he gave me a big family. And I thank him for it. Because today, if I would have been in that other side of the family, y'all would never know me.
And that would be a sad thing. I feel like, I don't want to elaborate on it. Why are we in the middle of a war between God and his adversary? I feel like it really boils down to one thing. I feel like the angels in the kingdom of heaven are like soldiers, right? A soldier is trained to respond when given an order. But we know there is also insubordination. That happens. Where a soldier does not feel like you are making a decision that properly fits the situation. They feel like you're not handling it right. And whenever you're not handling it right, that's when you have insubordination. Now, only thing needs to happen for there to be a split in the ranks is for him to convince other individuals that you're not handling it right. So now we have a rebellion amongst the ranks, right? So we go to war. They find that they can't win. So my only thing to do is to make them retreat.
Yeah.
I don't give them a choice in retreating. I make them retreat. Well, the only way out of heaven is to fall. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's basically what he does. He takes away their ability to exist in that realm. The next thing I'm going to do if I realize I have an enemy, right, is I'm going to figure out how to infiltrate their camp. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of this enemy.
Reconnaissance.
Yes. Okay, well, I'm going to send my most trustworthy to do this. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm recruiting. I'm going to send my most trustworthy to do this. Okay, well, I don't trust nobody more than me. How do I do that? How do I do that? Oh, okay, I can create another life form that will resemble me at the most minute level. Because if I do it at the most minute level, I don't dilute my power. You get what I'm saying? I give you a small piece of the bread. Give you a small piece of the bread. But that small piece can still absorb water, can still fill up the stomach, it can do whatever. But I'm going to give you a small piece of the bread. So I feel like that's what that was. I feel like that's why we were born. We were born as infiltrators. We were born as stand-ins. We were born to let you know, hey, God say even this ain't yours, bro. Just let you know that. So, with letting you know that this ain't yours, he knew he couldn't do nothing with us. Period. Right? He can't do a thing with us. Only thing he can do is convince you some kind of way. I need to cut off them from the source of power. AKA, that's how you have the people who are winning the war to lose the war. You cut off supplies. And I think what we are seeing today are the remnants of having our supply cut off. And Jesus said, I came back to reestablish connection with the supply line. But it had been so long since there had been connection with the supply line, and people was like, that ain't the supply. That's the enemy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Recognition.
They ain't know what they was looking at.
Because they was looking for something to be extraordinary, which he was.
Yes.
But he put them in a simple form to be received.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so simple it was stupid for them. It was so simple. Even to receive Christ now is very simple.
Yes.
But we make it hard because we think that we got to do this and do that and do this and do that to receive him. And the only thing we got to do is verbally say it and believe in our heart that we've done that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy.
I heard somebody say recently, excuse me, I heard somebody say recently, the reason why they rejected Jesus when he came was not because it honestly didn't have anything to do with him saying he was God initially, the first moment of rejecting him. The Sadducees and Pharisees rejected him simply because he contradicted them in their position on how God blesses his people. That's why they rejected him. But the people rejected him because their belief of what a Messiah was one who delivered them from the Romans. He had no desire to do that. So that's why the people didn't want him. Because, all right, we look for somebody to bring, they was looking for David again. Boiled down, plain and simple. That's what they wanted. They wanted David again. David freed us from the Palestinians and Goliath, which led to all this freedom for so many years. That was their golden age, according to the Hebrew people.
But they wanted the bread. They didn't want to do the work.
Bingo.
That's still slavery.
Yes.
See, he told us, yes, you'll be free, but your freedom, you're gonna have to pay a price. You got instruction. There is a law. Just like there's a natural law, there's a spiritual law. You just can't do everything and anything and receive everything God has. That just doesn't work. But the wonderful thing and the blessing is he give us time. He give us opportunity. He give us space to grow. He understands our makeup. He understands us better than we understand ourselves. So because of that, what he calls grace and mercy. And some of us, we mess that up. Grace and mercy. Because he is merciful and he's graceful. He don't just, when you make a mistake, everything's not just annihilated from you. That's not how he works. Because he is the pure love, the total love. So everything he does it in love.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't understand that.
But that goes back to the original question. How this all started. How this all started was treat others as you want to be treated, which is the golden rule. But we don't have nothing to compare it to. Right?
We do. Jesus, the word. He.
But we going back to a time frame. Like now we got the word for sure. But what I'm getting at is, all right. So personally, I have a full understanding of why God say there is a limited number of people who will go. Okay, and it's simply because there is very few people who will get enticed by the temptations of the world and the enemy, and will realize this is not of God. Because when we boil down to it, Jesus told the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which were both carriers of the word, Do you understand what I'm saying? In fact, the reason why the people were so ill-equipped, word-wise, was because they were the keepers. They told anybody who did not decide to go through the College of Synagogue, they were in charge of teaching the people. But from how they was handling it, how they was handling their task, it was still getting people into condemnation. Like, they still wasn't being freed. And I feel like we're heading back that same direction right now. That's what's going on. There is, I bet y'all can't tell me how many denominations it is in the Christian religion.
A whole lot.
Other than that word, no.
But that's because we put our own bylaws in there.
That's right.
Okay, but understand though, why the reason why they all did it, don't think of the situation as negative, like really put it in a positive light. Every single person who came up with what we gonna do under this branch of God's tree, they all said the same thing. We're all looking to please God. I don't agree with them on this one thing. When you really study the denominations, one literally split up because somebody was baptizing from the foot up rather than the head down. And that's why they created their own branch. They split on baptism. That's the difference. It was just baptism. So I want you to understand what's different between that and the Sadducees and the Pharisees. It ain't different. It's just a different form. So what, Jesus got to come back again? To tell them they all wrong?
He come back again. He already said he's not going to come back and touch the earth.
But see, that's why even the scripture tells us we have to know him for our oneself. We have to build a relationship where we can be one-on-one with God for ourselves. We got to be, he want to know me. He want to know you. And ABCD to Z. Individually. Everybody, this one is not the keeper, that one ain't the keeper, this one ain't the keeper. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He does give us one person that he puts over us to carry that deep word. Because he does say, occupy till I come. Okay, so everybody can't spend all day praying. Everybody can't spend all day seeking. That particular one we should care for. Because they're doing something we can't do. But at the same time, there are certain levels and certain things that we are responsible for that we need to be doing. And in that way, we won't be like the Sadducees and the Pharisees and think that we're better. I'm not better than you because of this and that. I am better as in myself because I have allowed God to come in. Not comparing myself to you, but I am a better person.
I'm comparing me to me.
Yeah. I'm a better person because I'm allowing him to work on me. That don't make me to where I'm looking down at you. I have no right. We was all born the same way. Now I am responsible for helping if you allow me to. But even in that, you better be careful. Because you don't want to go too far to where you're out of order. Because God has.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. And we'll be back in just a second. What it do, family? This your boy Sid, a.k.a. King Dope, the king of all things dope. Hey, I just kind of let you know I just dropped another gem for you. Hey, what I need you to do is pick up your device, go to the nearest streaming app you have, wherever you listen to music. I'm letting you know I dropped an album to go along with the podcast. Yes. And to make it easy, I named it the same thing, A Vivid Mind. So, on wherever you like to find your music, look up A Vivid Mind. And it's by the artist known as King Dope, that it will be me. You can look up King Dope, KINGDOPE, or you can look up A Vivid Mind, and you will find my album. Check it out. Man, I got some tunes on there for every type of situation. And every type of situation I got some tunes for involve getting to the bag. So, make sure you hit the comments on this video if you have checked it out and let the people know what you think. All right, we're back from the break. It was a lot longer than y'all know. But what it all boiled down to is one question. One question that I have totally. What does it take for the church that Jesus married to resemble the bride that he intended? What actions, characteristics, how should we all move as one mind in order to be the perfect version of church that the Lord intended? We'll start with the Moffetts.
Well, me personally, looking at it from the way he wants it to be, he's looking for a church without a spot or wrinkle, without any flaws, any disagreements about anything. Basically, if you look at just a true family, as what we have here, and I'm proud to say that, we love each other unconditionally. We have no ill wills towards anyone inside this family or outside the family. We know that we allow God to lead us. We trust in His word. We trust in His movement. We trust in His spirit guiding our individual lives as well as our whole life. So a church to be led as what this family is what He's looking for, to be led by, without the schism and isms, those that have hidden agendas but always looking over their shoulder in jealousy. The one that smile in your face 1 minute and talk about you right behind your back, that's not the church He's looking for. He's looking for a solid church. And until He can find that solid church, He will pull remnants out of all multiple forms of church to bring together for that one body. That's what.
Chariett?
Obedience.
Who are we obeying?
The leading of the Lord. A lot of times, like you were saying, with those hidden agendas, we want to do what we want to do, but we must obey Him in order for us to be that church He desires for us to be. We must obey Him. A lot of times in my walk with Him, I find myself sometimes, wanting to do what I want to do, but it's not about me. It's all about Him. His glory being shown in my life. His walking as He would walk in me. So we must obey Him. And it's not a hard thing to do. We got to set aside our own will in order to obey Him.
All right, we'll go with parents. What we got to do as a church? And by church, I mean the whole Christian diaspora. What do we have to do in order to resemble the bride that Christ wanted?
Well, we got to be at least on one accord. And just like she said, being obedient. And when we live like God say, like He want us to live, everything should be straight. But once you try to live in self, do what you want to do, that ain't gonna work. But it ain't the way God operate. So we all gotta be on one accord. Just, with the word, how the word flow in church.
Well, I look at it, a family that prays together, stays together.
Okay.
And God is always going to be there with us. And like my wife said, we all still need to be on one accord and pray for each other. Don't matter what we go through. Lift each other up. And His word says, that if we lift each other up and pray together, and we pray 1 to 3 together, ain't nothing impossible that we cannot do together with His strength and His help. And just keep on living for God, praying, doing His will, not our will. Do not do His words that do not lead to your own understanding. to let him lead us his way. Amen.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to my parents. They say we basically need to obey God and get rid of the schisms and isms. That's the word says. And then what godparents say, we need to stop being selfish and lean not into our own understanding, but lean on the understanding of God, and actually love for real. What are any other characteristics that the bride may be missing that has not been mentioned yet?
First of all, we gotta love. And the scripture says in John 6:63, he said, the words I speak to you, they're spirit and they are life. In John 3:16. John 3 and 6? Where he says, for God so loved the world. 3:16. John 3:16. Thank you, my brother. In John 3:16, that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. We got to have that love. We got to love one another. We got to get rid of these schisms and the isms and jealousy, envy. We got to get rid of that. And but all of those are spirits. All of those are spirits. And until you are willing to let that go, it ain't on. It's not gonna work.
What you say, Mom?
Well, I believe that it all stems from love, because if we're exemplatories of God, that we're going to walk like God is. And he is, like I said, he is love. And in 1 Corinthians 13:4-5, it says love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrong. We're going to have to do that. Now, is that easy to do? No. Because it's going to take a lot of taking out of self. And then if we focus on Galatians chapter 5, it speaks of the works of the flesh. Now, it calls them a work. So that means you're doing a job when you're doing all the works of the flesh. It's a work. Makes you tired.
Yes.
You're toiling. Okay, when the flesh come in, we're toiling. And then it starts coming into the fruits of the spirit. It's a fruit, it's something sweet, it's something nurturing.
It's what you will produce.
Right. So if we do the fruits of the spirit, which starts with love. The number one thing is love. And I just read what love does. And then it opens the door to the other fruits. If we don't start with love, we're not going to have no joy, no peace, no long suffering, no gentleness, no meekness, no goodness. We're not going to have any of that. It starts with love. I'm done.
All right. And now we have a word from my wife in regards to the subject.
I honestly feel like that the bride needs equality. More so because God called all of us, not a man, not a woman, but he called us all. And if we respect each other's role and who we are, not to feel superior over each other, but to know that God is God and not that we are not God.
Right.
Then I feel like that we will have the love, we will have the peace. No, there will be no quarrel, there will be no dismay between any of us. If we all would just treat each other as an equal. Even the small children are called. So nobody is up over the next man. Nobody is more important than the next woman. And that's what I think it is.
All right. So to end this podcast, I'll basically summarize by saying everything that they said, all in one scripture that was given to us. That we love others the way that we love ourselves. But you got to learn how to love yourself. And in order for you to take that step to learn to love yourself, the reason you don't love yourself is because you don't know yourself. And you don't know who you are because you don't know who God is. How do I know you don't know who God is? Because you don't even know his name. So when you find out his name, all of these problems will be solved. So with that being said, this has been a Vivid Mind podcast. I am your host, the king of all things dope, Sid, aka King Dope. And I bid you live humble and prosper.